Jim Harbaugh gives more clarity on his coaching staff, and he brings up more names that he likes on this team like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And also, an all-star running back is now being rumored to sign with the Chargers in free agency. All of that and so much more, so make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content, bro. It helps me out so much. And now, let's start off with Jim Harbaugh in this clip right here from the Pat McAfee show.
Coaching Justin Herbert, boy, I better know my stuff. You know, I better have looked at all the tape. I better make this system clean. And every time he steps out of a quarterback meeting, then he's got clarity. Then he can go take it to the field. So yeah, it's a big challenge getting that coaching staff put together. Want an all-star staff, want experts at each position, especially coaching the quarterback. But every spot, there is no weak link. You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Wow, so what a stark difference Jim Harbaugh is from Brandon Staley. I remember Brandon Staley saying that he doesn't answer to the fans, and then in Jim's introductory press conference, he shouts out the fans and says they're a part of the reason why he works so hard. But also what stood out the most so far about everything that Jim Harbaugh has said publicly is that he feels like he needs to bring his A game in order to coach Justin Herbert and maximize the potential that he has because of how great he is and how great he can be. He wants to make sure that he builds a great system around Justin Herbert and can communicate it to the entire offense decisively and clearly. Man, I love hearing that, especially after from what Brandon Staley was doing with the Chargers, because it never seemed as though he felt like he had this great responsibility to maximize what he had in Justin Herbert or really in any of the players that he had. On top of that, his scheme was often criticized for how complex it was, and we saw so many freaking communication errors on defense that led to huge blown plays and games where the teams are putting up like 40 or even freaking 60 points on us, like the Raiders, and he never wavered in his game plan because he was so confident that he crafted like this masterpiece defense, and that was ultimately what his downfall was. His inability to adapt to the players that he was given, but also his refusal to change what his game plan was because he didn't think that it was flawed in any way. And it wasn't just defense with him either. It was the offense as well. Lots of wrong routes being run, poor run blocking, guys blocking the wrong man or the wrong gap. I mean, the whole thing was a mess on offense and defense. And then also guys like Derwin James not being used properly. I don't want to get too much into that because now it's happy times with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has brought up Derwin James's name several times without being prompted about it at all. He gets asked about like Justin Herbert and he brings up Derwin James because of how much he loves Derwin James on this defense. Derwin James is a Harbaugh dude through and through, and I think if anybody is going to be elevated with the hire of Jim Harbaugh, it is Derwin James at number one, and then maybe other guys like I really think Joey Bosa is going to have a big impact on this team with Jim Harbaugh. I know a lot of people don't like Joey Bosa, but I think Joey Bosa really fits what Jim Harbaugh wants in an edge player. Smart, can play the run and the pass, has really good bend on the edge, very athletic, and also very crafty with his hands. He's a really smart football player. Khalil Mack is another guy that fits what Jim Harbaugh wants to do and wants in an edge player as well. He also talked about building an all-star staff. So let's hear a little bit more about what he has to say about potential coaches joining his staff.
Sending a message, some that hopefully many heard it. We have got to protect this man, his environment, both on the field, off the field, in the meeting room. You got to be up for the challenge, man enough to, coach a talent like Justin Herbert and the rest of the team. Up front, offensive line, I mean, we're relying on it. I mean, every position group relies on the offensive line. Special teams, we're improving here, but run game, play action, we've got to attack it all and get really good at football if we're going to accomplish the goals that we want.
So he is letting it be known that you need to protect Justin Herbert at all costs. And again, he mentions the offensive line and how big that it is in a successful offense. I know everyone right now is mocking the Chargers to take Malik Nabers or Brock Bowers at 5. Even me, I would rather have Brock Bowers over everyone right now. But man, the closer that we get and the more I hear both Joe Hortiz and Jim Harbaugh talk, Bro, I don't know. I can't help but feel like Joe Alt at 5 might be where they are leaning. And if you watch all of my videos, then you know that Joe Hortiz said it is never a bad idea to draft an offensive lineman at any position on the board. And Jim Harbaugh constantly bringing up how important offensive line is when not even prompted to talk about the offensive line. I just think the Chargers could surprise a lot of people and draft the best offensive lineman in the draft, which is Joe Alt, this year at number 5 overall in order to bolster that run game and again protect Justin Herbert at all costs. Those are not my words. Those are Jim Harbaugh's words. And then back to the coaching staff, talking about special teams, saying that they're improving here, which I love to hear because there's a report that Ryan Ficken is set to stay as the special teams coordinator. That is absolutely the correct decision. And Jim Harbaugh making it known that he likes the job Ryan Ficken has done basically confirms that his job is secure. Jay Harbaugh was the other name being considered at that spot, the special teams coordinator spot, but he's probably going to come on as like a safeties coach and coach up Derwin James back to that Pro Bowl level that he is used to playing at. And then Greg Roman was also reported as being on the staff, and he would likely be the offensive coordinator. I think Jim Harbaugh said he wanted a strong run game and play action game, and Greg Roman, I mean, he can bring that. And people are now saying that, you know, looking back, maybe he wasn't the issue for that Ravens offense because they weren't that great in the playoff game. But I know a lot of us are still holding out hope that he's not going to be the offensive coordinator. But if he is going to be on the staff, if that is reported many times and it's going to be true, do you think he would take a job that isn't the offensive coordinator? Do you think he would be run game coordinator or something like that? I don't think that he would. And I would be pleasantly surprised if he was, but I don't think he would be a terrible offensive coordinator as much as other people think. But, you know, the Ravens' inability to pass the ball is certainly concerning from his time with them, especially considering that Jim wants to maximize Justin Herbert. We hear that a lot. So why would you bring in Greg Roman, who has never had a great passing attack? I mean, it would almost go against what he's saying here. So maybe there's another name that Jim Harbaugh has got up his sleeve for the offensive coordinator position. I don't know. And there were also some people that were looking into Jim Harbaugh not bringing up Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack or Mike Williams and saying that is a hint at what he is going to do with those players because the cap situation. I mean, Jim Harbaugh has said in his introductory press conference, it's not hard to see what he's thinking because he's not a great poker player. You're going to know how he feels. But here he is in an interview with Rich Eisen, bringing up some of those players.
We're going to have to bring it. I got to hire a staff, an all-star staff worthy of a quarterback like this and worthy of the players that are on this team. Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, guys, Keenan Allen, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. I mean, this is a very, very talented team.
So he brought up 3 new names right there: Zion Johnson, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack. Both of those guys. Like I said earlier, I think both of those edge players fit what Jim Harbaugh wants in an edge player. And they can both have a resurgence with Jim Harbaugh, just like Derwin James is set to do. I mean, why would they not be able to have a resurgent year after what they've shown previously in their careers with Jim Harbaugh if Derwin James is likely to do that as well? You know, it just doesn't make sense if you believe Derwin James is going to really bounce back this year, but you don't believe Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are going to play to that same kind of level. I mean, in my opinion, a lot of people don't like Joey Bosa. It's a little bit, you know, out of proportion there because he's got a lot of stupid penalties and he gets injured often. But listen, man, if he stays healthy for a full season under Jim Harbaugh, I really think that he could be back at that level that we saw in like year 2 in his rookie season when we all fell in love with how good Joey Bosa is. Just give him a shot, keep him on this team. And the only name that Jim Harbaugh didn't mention that I think we can look into as him not being a great poker player, it's Mike Williams, man. I really think Mike Williams, with all this cap stuff going on, he's probably the odd man out. I think you can keep Khalil Mack with an extension and restructure that contract. Keenan Allen as well. You extend him, restructure it. That'll free up a lot of money for you. And then you have Joey Bosa on his contract right now. You can keep him because you extended and restructured both Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen. Odd man out right there is Mike Williams. And also, Mike Williams, what kind of receiver is he, right? He's a jump ball receiver. This offense is not going to be throwing deep like that. They're not going to be throwing jump balls. They're going to be running level schemes. They're going to be running shallow routes, short intermediate routes. This is going to be a West Coast offense that wants to run the ball and get the ball out in play action. They want to have a dominant offensive line like we've heard many times before. I mean, he even brought up Zion Johnson before bringing up Mike Williams. I really think Mike Williams is not going to be here, and the Chargers are probably going to draft a receiver late. They're definitely going to draft an offensive lineman. But what about running back? Because there was this clip about Saquon Barkley.
But I do think that Saquon Barkley is going to be at the top of his list in terms of what he wants to do with the running back position with him being a free agent. I think they can franchise tag him again, which I'm a...
But yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, but it's something I know that Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to run the football, and he wants to use those guys down the field with play action.
So obviously a lot of Chargers fans heard this because this is Ryan Leaf. He's obviously got connections to the Chargers because he was such a great quarterback for the Chargers, right? But seriously. Saquon Barkley to the Chargers in free agency. Jim Harbaugh's got interest there. He can have interest all he wants, but is it realistic? Are they willing to pay Saquon Barkley like, let's say, $6 to $7 million a year? The Giants don't even want to pay Saquon Barkley that much. I mean, listen, man, it's not a good idea to give a running back like that a big second contract. If you want to get excited about a running back, I think you should look at some running backs in the draft this year. I mean, honestly, for me, I would rather have Blake Corum out of Michigan, and I'm not extremely high on Blake Corum right now, but I would rather have him than sign a big contract running back like Saquon Barkley in free agency. Number one, I don't think it's smart or likely that the Chargers are going to do that. I mean, the Ravens, have they ever given a big contract to a running back ever? No, I don't think they ever have. And Joe Hortiz from the Ravens is now the Chargers general manager. But on top of that, the Saquon Barkley is going to be too expensive for the Chargers to have because we're already in this cap situation, already going to have to get rid of Mike Williams. Why would you bring in an expensive running back that is getting older and has been used a lot in the NFL? I mean, at the end of the day, Saquon Barkley is a 26-year-old running back who is expensive, has had injuries in his career. He's got a lot of tread on those tires. And in the draft, you can get somebody who's going to give you 80 to 90% of that production for a lot less money. Somebody like Blake Corum from Michigan, who I'm not even really extremely high on. Bucky Irving from Oregon is a very good running back. He may be the best in the class. Kamani Vidal, Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Ray Davis, even from Kentucky. There are a lot of good running back options that can give you a lot of that value that you want in Saquon Barkley, but you don't pay them that huge premium in free agency, which we don't have the money to spend. And then also, you have a younger running back, team-friendly contract that you're not investing a lot of capital into. It is way better to draft a running back on day 2 or day 3 than to pick up Saquon Barkley in free agency. And if you want to hear more about some draft prospects that the Chargers are probably interested in, I can guarantee you that out of these names right here, the Chargers like a lot of them.